You're listening to The Odd Couple with Lori Ross and Vikram Deol.
Hey, it's Vikram with The Odd Couple, and I got my co-host Lori Ross with me. And today we wanted to talk a little bit about persistence and grit.
Absolutely, because we definitely needed it this morning just to get this one recorded.
Yeah, well, we're doing some new stuff on our end, so that we can hopefully get some video production down the road. And I can tell you, video is much more challenging than just audio. So it took us a couple tries, and every time Lori moves on her side, my screen readjusts for some weird reason. I don't know why. But persistence always pays off, and I think this morning was a testament. One, she was trying to light a match. I don't know why she was lighting a match. We're going to leave that at that. You know, just trying to get the volume of this podcast, it sounds like the feedback that she's gotten is that the volume hasn't been good. So we got a couple of different microphones set up, and we've got some recording equipment. But the overall theme that's been repeating itself back to me in the last, 10 days or so is persistence and grit and pushing through. You know, I got a couple stories that I want to share about that in my personal life and my family life. But I know that that's kind of been the overlying theme that's come up to me starting this podcast with Lori and everything else.
Well, we've had to be very persistent because we're learning from scratch. At least I don't know about you, but man, there is so many times where it's so easy to give up because it seemed too hard, but I was persistent and I said, nope, I'm going to learn something new. And every time we recorded, there was an epic failure of some sort that maybe I did share with you, maybe I didn't, I don't know. And I had to learn. I had to relearn and push through and take it to the next step. So here we are today where it sounds much better, by the way. So please feel free to give us feedback. But so far, so good.
And the way that our goal is, one of our goals is that we provide enough value to you as the listener that you share this on your social media pages. You share it with people in your life, your family, your children. We do curse, and we're going to try to curb that a little bit. But sometimes the well-placed F-bomb is not because we are not educated and we're illiterate. It's because sometimes language patterns that are interrupted really get the message that we're trying to get across to you. So not that we were trying to, be these street gangsters or anything of that nature, because we're both super educated. It's just that sometimes when you use certain language, it makes you actually stop and think, because certain words like fuck at the right time really makes you stand up and listen. So we want this to be a podcast that you can listen to at work and with family and kids. And we really value your feedback. It helps us become better. And we want this to be a podcast that delivers actionable value and not just another thing where we're just noise in the background.
Yeah, I'm hoping that what we say actually resonates and goes all the way into the heart, into the body, and does make a difference. It makes you see things differently. It makes you open up to different ways of viewing the world. And from our own experiences and what we're doing is we're trying to create our own new businesses. And you've done this in the past. This is all new to me. But understanding the action that it does take, that, setting the intention, inspiration is great. But man, if we can help hold your hand and walk you through it, you have no fear. It's something that's going to happen for you. You will be successful.
So for me personally, a lot of people that have joined my team in the past or joined businesses that I've started or try to imitate or replicate what I've done to be successful doesn't work for them, because one is they're trying to copy something that isn't them. And so you have to be yourself when you do things, because if you try to be somebody else, it's never going to work. And I've tried to model certain people, but when you model people, to me, it's about taking the qualities that you like and then bringing them into your own personality. So in our business, we use a lot of scripts, right? That's one of the things that's very important in a sales business, is that you become very scripted, because when you don't have to think about what to say, you can actually think about the client's needs and how you're going to better serve them. And that's really what becomes important. When we do podcasts, it's not as much of a script as much as it's an idea that we're trying to convey. And then we let the message kind of come through our experiences in life of what we want to talk about during the podcast. But when you're out there doing business and you're doing the same thing over and over again, think about what it takes to make something think about Starbucks or think about McDonald's. If you went to 5 different McDonald's or 5 different Starbucks, you shouldn't eat either one of them. Both of them are not good for you, but that's a whole other topic.
I won't get you started on that.
I know it's my evil habit of wanting to make the world a healthier place. But if you go to a fast food or a certain restaurant chain, you expect every place to be the same. You expect the bathrooms to be a certain way. You expect the food to come out a certain way. And you expect the employees to treat you a certain way. And that's all scripted. That all takes work. It all takes time to train. That's called persistence. It's called grit. And when you start to build the muscle, it's the same kind of muscle as going to the gym. It's the same type of muscle as when you are learning a new skill. It's the same muscle you have to have with business. It's going to be harder than it is going to be easier. So before it becomes easy, it's going to be hard. And the persistence that you have to get through it, to hear another no, to hear somebody tell you to go kick rocks, to hear a secretary hang up on you, to hear whatever it is, are the worst people to me are the family members and the friends that are the naysayers, because they want you to do well. They don't want to see you in pain. And so you have to have persistence to get through their messaging, because they're trying to protect you so that you don't get hurt. But in their protection, a lot of times they actually end up hurting you. So you have to have the strength to persist through those messages.
Well, and I think as a kid, that was a theme of mine. I played a lot of sports and I did a lot of things. I even tried out for drill team. And once it got hard, my mom, because she didn't want to see me like stressed out or in pain, she gave me this beautiful door to walk through saying, you don't have to do any of this. And I really learned that when things get hard, you just give up. And it makes you very complacent. It makes you, I don't know, lazy is not the right word, but it's not taking me to where I want to go. And so as I got older and I started climbing mountains, which is a great metaphor for me, I know I always use that one. But, you know, when you're ascending a mountain, every step gets harder and harder and harder. And you really have to push through and have persistence, because at the end, it's going to be so worth it once you reach your goal, because you have this beautiful view. You feel so accomplished, and it just jazzes you up for the rest of the way. And so I know a lot of you might be out there that have been given the easy way out, and I understand, because that was my childhood. You know, I remember rounding first base and getting tagged out, and I was more embarrassed when I got tagged out, so I quit. And I was little, by the way. I was really little for that one. But I played sports, and every time it got hard, I just gave up, which was unfortunate. But it's a lesson I'm learning. So
whenever you learn a new skill, it's never easy.
Right.
Because if it was easy, everybody would do it. If it was easy, there would be no sports stars. There would be no pop stars. There would be no any of that, because everybody can do it. But it's not that it's easy. It's tough. Learning a new skill is tough. And you have to have grit. You have to have willpower to get through it.
Okay, well, let's talk about how we get that. I mean, I think it's easy to sit back, and I might challenge you a little bit because I know that you have the perfect answer, but it's easy to step back and be like, this is what you need. But what you're really good at is like, here are the steps to do that. So what would you recommend to do a pattern disrupt and to get people out of that easy way out cycle and know that, yeah, it's going to be hard, but do you break it down into steps? Do you just say, hey, it's going to be hard? Like, what do you do when you're in that position?
Yeah, so I like to reverse engineer things. So look at what your outcome is. What is the goal of what you're trying to do? So are you trying to start a new business? Are you trying to learn a new skill? What is the goal of what you're trying to do? And sometimes you don't have a clear vision of what you want to do, and it makes it really difficult to know how to reverse engineer that. So if you don't know you're trying to make an airplane wing, but you're just trying to make a plane fly, well, which part do you work on? So you got to know what you want as your outcome, and then you got to reverse engineer it so you can take the appropriate steps to do that. So a lot of people start with step number 1, and they're like, I want to be a millionaire. Or I want to sell real estate.
I've been there.
So let's talk about real estate, because I know real estate in and out. I know real estate sales like the back of my hand. When you go out and you're a new agent, you're 25, 6, 7, 30 years old, whatever the age is, and you're like, I'm going to be a kick-ass real estate agent. You go to your courses, you do your 120 hours, you pass your test, and now you're licensed to go and take people's largest asset and screw them over, not intentionally, but screw them over because you didn't know anything about what you were doing. So what happens? So your goal was to get your license. So what did you do? You Googled, what do I need to do to become a real estate license? All this stuff came up. You clicked a link. It said, give me $350. Here you go. Then you're like, great, I did the test. Now what's the next step? The next step is you go and you take the licensing exam, and then you have to go get fingerprinted. And what most people do is they say, okay, I want to be a real estate agent. They Google, then they do one step, one step, one step, one step. But if you take it and you reverse engineer it and you put the goal at the left side of the paper and you say, this is what I want to do, or you put the goal on the right side, and then you put all the steps in and make it a linear progression, you know when you're progressing because everything's in front of you. So spending the time to build a foundation is much better than spending time to do one step at a time, because you know that every time you take the next step, you're progressing more towards your goal. So we don't take, maybe it's just me that's guilty of it, but we don't take that advice and actually do it. It sounds good to do it, but we don't. So then when we get hit with a challenge, we don't know the next step. And we just see this big, tall mountain of, I want to be $1 million real estate agent. And it looks so far away that we just say, that mountain's too high. I'm going to go to the little bunny slope and not do anything. So when the goal is too unreachable, sometimes it's so unfathomable that you don't even think you can reach it because you don't know what to do, because you didn't put the time in up front to make it happen. I don't know if that made sense or not.
Well, what about a situation? No, that was wonderful. But what about a situation that I currently know somebody's in where they took a position in a job because they thought it was the next step, but instead of going up the mountain because it's going to be hard, but what about changing direction, pivoting, changing course? And at what point do you know that it's not working anymore and you don't persist in this direction and you pivot? That was a loaded question.
That's so funny because literally that's what I read this morning.
Oh my goodness.
I literally read the author of the book flew out to meet somebody, and he was hoping that the guy would have the answer. And the guy's like, I don't know. He's like, it comes from inside. Sometimes you got to ask yourself, is this what I want? Is this taking me in the right direction? I can't tell you if you need to pivot or not, because that's something you need to tell yourself.
Right.
I do know that most people that I've been around give up too soon. So from my personal experience, most people don't get to the top before they give up. And they give up and they say they make an excuse. And the minute you make an excuse for why you weren't able to succeed, you probably didn't go high enough, because you should go out on top, not on the bottom. If you've never made a sale and your goal is to make 10 sales and you couldn't make 10 sales, were you the first one in the office? Were you the last one out? That's easy. Were you surrounding yourself at the coffee machine just bullshitting, or were you surrounding yourself by the people that were producing and listening? We've become a society where you get a handout for doing nothing, and our kids have become a bunch of pussies.
Wow. Well, I think can I add a little language to that maybe isn't so harsh? And right. I think there's areas where there is more masculine energy, which is that work for what you get energy, and then there's the more feminine energy. And I'm noticing I guess it's the state I live in. It's a very feminine state, and I'm trying to launch my business here, but I'm noticing that people don't even want to pay anything for what I have to offer. And I realize that it's not my business. I need to pivot in a different direction and possibly move to another location. But anyway, so that's a whole nother topic. But, I could give up my business and be like, it's not working here, or just keep going and say, maybe I'm supposed to do it somewhere else. Maybe I'm supposed to learn what I need to learn here, and then move on. So don't give up even if it could be the wrong place too, and it could be not the right time. It could not it's not ripe. But these little steps that I'm building and building and building, these little building blocks, are building something.
Do you have something that people want? I mean, that's the first question: is if you want to make $1 billion, do you have an idea that can provide $1 billion in value? If not, then you're probably not going to make $1 billion off of that idea. You might
Yeah,
make
but
a
I
million.
like I said, and talk to a billionaire and be like, was every billionaire's goal to be a billionaire? Because I don't know if anybody starts out that way. I think people just have this drive and they know they have value and they want to just build and build and build. And then eventually it just kind of snowballs into $1 billion or $1 million or whatever. But I don't know if you talk to true billionaires and millionaires, did it start out that way?
A lot of them it did. A lot of them were like, I want to be rich. I want to be super wealthy. Like I want to be, I want to be a billionaire. Maybe back then $1 billion was a lot of money, but they're like, I want to be one of the richest people in the world. I want to be financially free. I mean, I want to be a multi-billionaire.
Yeah. I have no doubt. I have no doubt you're going to do that.
And it's okay to say that, and it's okay. In my culture, my mom would always say, you don't want to say that to people. You don't want them to know. But I'm like, I want the world to know. Like, I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to provide a tremendous amount of value. I'm going to constantly learn. I'm never going to give up. And I'm always going to try to be the best version of myself. Will there be days where I'm not the best version? Yeah. But, I reference things that are valuable to me. And if they're good to you, great. If they're not, disregard them. But I listen to YouTube. I bought YouTube Red. It's like $14.99 a month. It allows me to listen to YouTube in America streaming without having to have the YouTube app open. So if you don't have $15 to invest in yourself, go sell a crack rock or something and get the $15. But I have a lot of positive. Lori's shaking her head over this, so you guys know.
It's okay. It's okay.
I mean, I did sell drugs when I was in college and high school. My parents. I think I told my dad a couple months ago that I did it, and he was like shocked. I think he almost had a third heart attack. But sometimes you gotta make money.
You were just learning how to be a business entrepreneur.
I was an entrepreneur. Like I had a substance that people valued, and they paid me top dollar for it. I see that as entrepreneurship. Some kids sold lemonade, I sold weed. Big deal. There has to. So when I was listening to the 5 a.m. call. And I haven't been on my game lately with my schedule. I mean, I'm in this transition and I've been traveling to different countries and different states and different time zones. And it's been really easy for me to have the excuse of, well, I'm not in the right time zone, so I don't need to wake up on time. Or I went to sleep late, so I don't need to wake up on time. And that's an excuse. And what his call today said was, remember tomorrow. So remember tomorrow when you don't want to get up. Remember tomorrow when you don't want to go to the gym. Remember tomorrow when you want to eat that Philly cheesesteak with 3 pounds of fries instead of eating that healthy green salad with high density, like good food for you. Remember tomorrow. And that little message that he said this morning, we'll put in the link if you guys want to register. There's 1,800 people or 1,900 people on it now. And these are not just, and the cool thing about it is that you get access to a private Facebook group, which has some of the most successful people in all realms of the world on it.
I don't think you said the name. Can you say the name?
It's www.the5amclub.net, and it's hosted by Sharon Srivastava, and he's just a rock star, solid guy, and he didn't do this to become famous. He did it because he needed it for himself. And it's blown up into this Facebook page where there's 1,900 people on it. And these are some people that are making tons of money, or these are people that have great family lives. There's people of all walks on it. And the message this morning, though, was remember tomorrow. And so when you don't want to journal or you don't want to go to the gym, remember tomorrow. What's going to be like tomorrow? And that's what persistence is remembering tomorrow. What you do today, and I don't know if you guys can hear the passion in my voice right now. It's a little bit different than the last podcast in Fiji where I was like sipping on a coconut. The people that make it in this world, the people that are remembered in this world, the people that have monuments put up after them, the people that are revered in history are the people that didn't give up. They're the people that pushed, and they remembered that tomorrow is going to come, and if I don't do something today that I said I was going to, it makes me weaker. It doesn't make me stronger. It makes me weaker, and it makes tomorrow that much harder to start what I didn't do because I've given myself an excuse to not do those things.
Well, and
so
I know that
tomorrow.
you're a big, you talk about time being finite in this lifetime. And so it's the most precious commodity that we have. And so many of us, as we get older, we wish that we had more of it. When I was a bartender years ago, we had to go through this training, and it was the term was foreseeability. So when you say remember tomorrow, we had to actually think about five steps ahead, 5 drinks ahead. So if someone comes in and they're already in this one state, we had to think about the future. And it's like, if we did this step, are we going to create kind of a worse problem for ourselves, or didn't do this step? And so to have foreseeability, to think 2 steps ahead, especially when it comes to, I do that a lot when I want to eat something that's really sugary. I'll be like, okay, so I'll actually visualize myself eating it and feeling sick. And then I'm like, nope, that's not what I want. And so I'm going to make a better choice based on by that foreseeability and thinking 2 steps ahead.
There's a really great lesson that I've learned, and it's counting down from 5 instead of counting up to 5. So if you need to make a quick decision, or if you need to force yourself, I feel that one of the hardest things for people to do is getting out of bed. For me, it's been really hard since I've been on the go for so many months. I haven't had a normal schedule. And I know that my life this is a preparation for my future, that my schedule is always going to be revolved around a lot of traveling. So I know that the last 9 months has been one hell of a boot camp for what's about to come. And it's teaching me that you got to learn to get up on 3 or 4 hours of sleep. And you count down from 5 instead of counting up to 5. So you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you just do it. And if you do anything, if you have more than 5 seconds, you're not going to do what you need to do. So really counting down from 5, it changes the way you think, because we're used to counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it forces you to make a decision when you hit 1. Because you don't want to get to 0 and not have made a choice. So you either made a choice to stay in bed or you make a choice to get up, but you made a choice. And then you have to live with that choice. And most of us are going to make the right choice when we're forced to make it. For me, I don't know where I heard this quote from, but the way you do little things is the way you do everything. I think it was actually Steve Cunningham, 90% positive it was Steve Cunningham. And he runs the 5-day MBA, and he's just a really smart businessman that really cares. But the way you do little things is the way you do everything, which is why every morning I wake up, I make my bed. It's why now when I go to the gym and I knock something over, I pick it up. I know that if I don't do those things, then when it comes to me running my business, I'm going to let little things slide like I have in the past. And then that's going to create foundational cracks, which is going to break my business down, or it's going to cause me to lose revenue. And I don't want to lose revenue because it hurts. It hurts to lose a client that you shouldn't have lost. It hurts to lose a deal that you shouldn't have lost. It hurts to have to close down things that shouldn't have been closed down because you had all the skills. You just didn't have the foundation. So that persistence is what matters.
So what do you do? So, I like to talk about the emotional side of things. So what does it feel like when you're in that decision moment? Have you experienced maybe anxiety? Like, how do you push through that? Like what? So I want to provide people kind of with a prescription, and what Vikram does or what I do may or may not work for you. But what do you do in those moments when you want to lay in bed and you don't want to get up and you count down and maybe you get to 0 and you still don't get up?
How do you feel when you don't do it? Think about those moments. So think about when, I don't have kids. I'm single, no kids that I know about. There might be some running around in this world. If you're one of my children, please don't find me. No, I'm kidding. Lori's just batting her eyes like, oh my God, is this for real?
No, I actually love I love you. So,
but for me, my motivation is different than what your motivation is. And so when you're in bed, that's your first opportunity to step up. That's your first opportunity to say, I am worth it. I am good enough. I am valuable enough. Because if you hit the snooze button, so here's some of the things that I've done in the past. I did it this morning. I slept like hell last night. I slept like I was bouncing around. I was waking up early, fell asleep, woke up, fell asleep. And I woke up this morning and I was like, oh my God, I just feel like my head was hurting a little bit. But I just counted down and I got up and I turned on the 5 a.m. call. I listened to it. He said, remember tomorrow. And I'm like, oh my God, that was perfect. Made my bed. Congratulated myself. I did a little celebration. I'm like, good job, Vikram. You did it. Sat down, meditated for 20 minutes. Got my, did I journal this morning? I did journal this morning. I sat back on my bed, I journaled, and then I read. And, that all took about an hour and 15 minutes, and actually it took about an hour and 45 minutes by the time I walked my dog, went to the garden, and made some tea. It was about 7 o'clock, so I'd moved my body. I came up downstairs, made tea, did everything, took some MCT oil, took some Udos oil, and I just still wasn't in gear. So I took a nap. I took a half hour, 45-minute power nap. I knew I had an 8:15 call this morning with some people on the East Coast that I couldn't miss. So I took a power nap, and I feel great now. So are there going to be days where you need to take a nap early in the day? Yes. Are there going to be days where you need to take a nap midday? Yes. Are there going to be days where you don't need to take a nap at all? Of course. It's just learning to really listen to what your body needs. And if your body, and you have the ability, again, I didn't have a pressing meeting where I had to get up and be out of the house and ready. If I did, I probably would have just pushed through it. I might have been groggy in the meeting. But I also drank like 16 ounces of water right when I woke up too.
So what No, and I love your process. I mean, mine's different. I have no problem getting up in the morning. I am a bright, sunny, annoyingly awake person every morning. I think it's because I do have kids and I'm forced to get up half the time. But I do. I love the mornings and I love to get up. And what drives me to stay persistent is I do have that vision that I think about every day. And I don't know exactly what it looks like, but I know what it feels like. And for those of you that have trouble visualizing what success is for you, try feeling what that would feel like to you. Does it feel fulfilling? Does it feel peaceful? Whatever it is for you? I think a lot of us are really good with the vision, but we don't have the emotional connection to it. And so that, like, for me, it is financial ease. It is being able to travel whenever I want to travel. But what does that feel like? It's me getting on a plane and laying on the beach or visiting places around the world. And I can feel the sun on my skin, and I'm just in a state of bliss and smiling and grateful and knowing that I earned all of this. I worked really hard for all of this. Well, I don't even like to use the word worked hard. I worked for it because you don't always have it. Sometimes, when you're doing something you love, it doesn't feel as hard. My process is different. But for me, I know that to stay persistent, there is these points where I was going to break. And so, like you said, taking those little naps to recuperate, knowing that you do have tomorrow. So sometimes it's like not wasting time, but sometimes people work so hard and they get to a point where they get frustrated, is what I'm trying to say.
For me, you have to figure out what your end game is. There's going to be some people that are going to be happy making less money than what they could potentially have made, but they're going to have a really solid household and a really good family life, and that's going to be fulfilling to them. And then there's going to be people that the fulfillment comes from making a lot of money, and they're okay with their family not seeing them as much, but that's okay. I know one of my drivers, one of my big motivators is my ego. And I know everybody says ego's bad, but I think that if you use the ego in the right way, when I was younger, my ego would take the best of me and I would do things that would probably not serve my today self. But when I was younger, that ego pushed me to learn and strive and work harder than everybody else. I do like having attention. I mean, it's something that I enjoy. It's
part of your payoff. There's nothing wrong with that.
It gives me fulfillment.
Yeah.
And
I think we have to take the taboo off of that. It is okay to find value from other people admiring you. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's just it's the story behind it. It's how you frame it. And it's, what are you doing with it? There's some people there's people that go out and do bad things because they want to be on the news. And there's people that go out and do good things because they want to be on the news. And so there's different personalities for everybody. And just because yours is one way or the other doesn't mean it's right or wrong, but it's realizing why you want to do things. And so one of the things for me that gets me out of bed is my ego. It's like, I said I'm going to do something. I've set out. I've made statements that are huge and bold. And for me, one of those things that gets me out of bed every day is that I'm going to live up to what I've said, not what other people have said about me, but what I've said about who I am. And that pushes me to get out of bed. That pushes me to go to the gym. It pushes me to to work harder and to always learn. I mean, I think one of the things about being persistent is that you got to be a student of life. And if you're not, once you stop learning, your earning will start to go down.
Well, and isn't it true that in anything that you do, whether it be business or your hobby, it really is an extension of how you are. And so when I would when I would have clients and they would ask me about their business, I would actually never focus on the business. And it would be about their internal stuff going on, whether it be their confidence or, what is blocking you emotionally that's holding you back. And a lot of it's fear and self-worth and the inability to actually dream big, because a lot of people don't even know what they want. They know they want something. They know they want to feel a certain way, but they have no idea what that looks like. So I don't know if you resonate with that, but I know in my experience, talking to a lot of people and in my own experience, my business is a reflection of what's going on inside of me.
I truly feel that everything is a reflection of what's going inside of us. For me this morning, the message that I wanted to deliver on this podcast was persistence, because right now I'm going to have to persist because things have come to me naturally. I'm a naturally good salesperson. I'm a naturally good leader in some regards. I read a lot. I study a lot. I self-analyze a lot. I self-evaluate a lot. I try to be self-aware as much as possible. And when things don't go the right way, I try to sit down and say, what happened? I might not journal it, but I do stop and think, why didn't it go the way I wanted? Or why did that client say this? Or why did the team member say that? I'm going to leave some, I think we're coming up on our time here in respect to everybody else that's listening. And I actually saw your son walk through the front door, so you're probably not mommy duty.
I muted my microphone. I'm like pointing him, go that way, go that way.
I'll just give you guys a play-by-play over here of what's going on in Lori's house. I'm going to leave you with a quote from Warren Buffett. And it says, no matter how great the talent or efforts, some things just take time. You can't produce a baby in 1 month by getting 9 women pregnant. It took Colonel Sanders 1,009 no's to get a yes for, I believe it was for him to get financing to open up his own KFC, or it was for somebody to buy his recipe, or not quite sure what it was, but it was 1,009 no's for Colonel Sanders to get his yeses. And so some things, no matter how great the talent or effort, some things just take time.
And I think we should end on that. And I think that's beautiful.
Until next time. And if you guys have any topics that you'd like us to cover, if there's anything burning in the back of your mind, just share it for us. My email, the way to get a hold of me is I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I don't do Twitter, and I'm not really on LinkedIn very much, but you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. My handle's Vikram Deol, Vikramdeol. If you want to shoot me a private email, please email me at Vikram@thedeol group. That's Vikram at ThedeolGroup.com.
All right, guys. Well, and I think I've given my information. It's Lori@sevenstonesradio.com if you have any questions for me. But we'll wrap it up today, and we're looking forward to next week's episode. Thanks, everyone.
Have a great one.